A significant rule change is coming to dressage in the United States. Beginning December 1, 2026, USEF will no longer permit double bridles in third level competition. Riders must compete at third level in an improved snaffle bridle, while double bridles remain optional at fourth level and above. For some riders, this may seem like a small equipment change. However, it raises a much larger question about dressage training and horse welfare. Should a horse be able to demonstrate the collection, balance, and self-carriage required at third level without the additional influence of a curb bit? USEF says the change is part of a broader effort to clarify the purpose of each dressage level and place greater emphasis on horse welfare, harmony, and ease of performance. The Federation wants each level to reflect a clear stage in the horse's progressive development. It has also emphasized that riders are responsible for competing at a level where both they and their horses are genuinely competent. In practical terms, USEF is drawing a new line between third and fourth level. Third level will remain a developmental stage ridden in a snaffle, while fourth level will become the first national level at which a double bridle may be used in competition. Third level is an important point in a dressage horse's education. Horses must demonstrate increased engagement, improved balance, and the beginning of genuine collection. They are asked to perform movements including shoulder in, traverse, half pass, collected, and extended gaits. These movements require more than obedience. The horse must begin carrying more weight on its hindquarters, developing greater strength through its body, and maintaining a lighter, more balanced forehand. However, horses at this level are still developing. Many are learning to perform flying changes and lateral movements consistently for the first time. Their strength, coordination, and confidence may not yet fully be established. USEF's position is that a horse should be able to demonstrate the third level requirements in a snaffle. The horse should not need the additional action of a curb bit to produce the balance or outline expected at this stage. A double bridle contains two bits, a bridle, which functions similarly to a small snaffle, and a curb bit used with a curb chain. The rider holds two reins in each hand, so the action of the two bits can be controlled separately. In experienced hands, a double bridle can allow for extremely refined communication. A skilled rider may carry the curb rein lightly and use it when a subtle signal is needed. However, the double bridle also introduces greater complexity and additional pressure points. Depending on how it is fitted and used, pressure may be applied to the horse's tongue, bars, lips, chin, and poll. The curb bit also provides leverage that is not present in any ordinary snaffle. That does not make every double bridle cruel. The effect of any bit depends on its design, its fit, the horse's individual anatomy, and the rider's hands. A snaffle can also cause discomfort when it is poorly fitted or used with excessive force. The welfare concern is not simply the existence of the double bridle. The concern is what can happen when its additional leverage is introduced before the horse or rider is ready. A double bridle can give the rider more influence over the position of the horse's head and neck. If used incorrectly, it can produce an outline that resembles collection without creating the physical balance that true collection requires. A horse can bring its nose closer to the vertical while remaining heavy on its forehand. It can shorten its neck without engaging its hindquarters. It can appear more contained even though it is not carrying itself independently. True collection cannot be created solely through the reins. It develops as the horse becomes strong enough to carry more weight behind, lift through its body, maintain its rhythm, and respond to increasingly subtle aids. By making third level snaffle only, USEF is asking riders to demonstrate that this training is established without relying on the additional influence of a curb. Can the horse perform a clean flying change while remaining connected in a snaffle? Can it stay balanced through a half pass? Can it maintain the collected work without the rider holding the front end together? Those are appropriate questions for a level intended to confirm the horse's progression towards advanced work. The change could also reduce the competitive pressure some riders feel to introduce a double bridle. Even though the double has been optional at third level, riders may believe that a horse shown in one will look more polished or advanced to a judge. Once every third level horse is required to compete in a snaffle, that concern disappears. Riders will be competing under the same equipment restriction, and judges can focus on whether the horse demonstrates correct training, harmony, and self-carriage. The rule may also encourage riders to spend more time addressing weaknesses before moving forward. If a horse becomes heavy in the rider's hands, falls through its shoulder, loses rhythm, or struggles to maintain balance, the horse may need more time and conditioning. Those problems do not necessarily mean that it needs a more advanced bridle. They may mean that the horse is not physically prepared for the demands being placed on it. That is a crucial welfare distinction. A horse may be able to produce a movement occasionally before it has the strength to perform that movement consistently and without strain. Correct dressage training should allow the horse's muscles, coordination, and confidence to develop gradually. The purpose of the levels should be to guide and protect that development, not encourage riders to create the appearance of advanced work before the horse is ready. However, the new rule will not solve every welfare problem associated with bitting and contact. A snaffle is not automatically gentle. A rider with harsh or unsteady hands can cause discomfort with a single bit, while an educated rider may use a properly fitted double bridle with exceptional softness. This is why the discussion should not be reduced to the idea that snaffles are always good and bridles are always bad. The reality is more complicated. Some horses may genuinely prefer a carefully selected double bridle. Horses have different mouth shapes, sensitivities, and previous experiences. A blanket competition rule cannot account for every individual horse. There are also riders who believe that education would protect horses more effectively than an equipment restriction. From that perspective, the central issue is whether riders know how to fit the bits, adjust the curb chain, manage four reins, and recognize signs of discomfort. The restriction also applies to competition. It does not necessarily prevent someone from schooling a third-level horse in a double bridle at home. That means horse welfare will still depend heavily on what happens outside the show arena. Judging will also remain extremely important. Judges must continue to recognize and penalize signs of tension, resistance, and open mouth, tongue problems, grinding, and unsteady contact, or a shortened neck. A horse should not receive better marks simply because the rider has created a more contained outline. USEF is not claiming that riders who have legally used double bridles at third level have been mistreating their horses. The Federation is changing the progression of permitted equipment and placing the introduction of the double bridle one level later. Responsible riders who currently use a double at third level now have several months to prepare. Ideally, that preparation should involve more than removing the curb immediately before the first competition. Riders can begin confirming that their horses remain responsive, balanced, and confident in a snaffle. If the horse struggles, that difficulty may reveal a weakness in strength, straightness, connection, or self-carriage that needs additional attention. That information should not necessarily be viewed as a failure. It can help the rider identify what the horse needs before moving forward. Ultimately, the success of this role will depend on what it produces in both training and competition. If it encourages riders to give horses more time, develop genuine self-carriage, and rely less on controlling the head and neck, it could represent a meaningful step for horse welfare. If riders simply replace the double bridle with stronger hands on a snaffle, the equipment will have changed without improving the horse's experience. The most important factor will always be how the horse is trained and ridden. Nevertheless, competition rules established expectations. By making third level snaffle only, USEF is stating that horses at this stage should demonstrate their training without the additional leverage of a curb bit. I believe this is an important conversation because it forces us to examine what progress in dressage should actually look like. Is progress defined by more complicated equipment and a more advanced looking frame? Or is it demonstrated by a horse that becomes stronger, more balanced, more confident, and easier to ride while the aids become increasingly subtle? A dressage horse should not require greater force as it advances. Correct training should eventually allow the rider to communicate with less visible effort. Beginning December 1, third-level riders will have to demonstrate that work in a snaffle. Fourth-level riders will still be able to choose between a snaffle and a double bridle based on their horse, training, and their own level of experience. Do you think that USEF's decision to make the third-level snaffle only is correct? Thank you so much for joining us, and remember, I am not AI. If you listen closely, you can hear me breathing.